So we'll be talking about cultivating data literacy in kids, and this is my new book, which is called Drawing Data with Kids, Cultivating Data Literacy, a screen-free journey through the art of visualization for kids. I wrote it for my kids starting age is 7 plus, but the unintended audience that I'm seeing is for parents, and they are saying that they are benefiting from it as well. So you can check that out. We'll talk more about it. But before I start, I'll start with a story. And it was 9 a.m. in sunny San Jose when I was busy at work. So it was like a COVID time, so I was working from home. But then, like, there was my son in the background, and he was having this Formula One car race. Like, he was going all this, and I was busy on work. So here's like one of the visual which I was working on. So you use Google. So Google autocompletes when people search for Reddit. So this is one project that I was working on. And this is the tree graph which I was creating. So basically, you've got different sentences, and then you put the sentence into different questions that people may be asking. You see are, can, how, what, where, which, who, will. And then further, you would see, okay, what are the different questions with these words people are asking? So are Reddit awards anonymous? Can Reddit gives you viruses? And things like that. So I was busy and I was focused on this. But then, like my 4-year-old son on the background, like when he was having all this Formula One car race and doing all this on my back, he suddenly stopped. And I said, what happened? Because it became a white noise to me. And then he stopped and he was pointing towards my screen and he said, Abbu, which means dad in our language. He said, Abbu, this looks like a mosque, a dome of a mosque. I thought maybe he's pointing to some Lego pieces that he has. I looked back and he didn't have anything. And he was pointing towards my screen. And I said, really? And then I tilted my head a little, and indeed, it like the most. So that was refreshing. So here there is a visual that I took to do in my day job, and there is a 4-year-old in the background. He's coming with all this different perspective and saying this looks like a mask. I said, okay, that's refreshing. So good morning, everyone. I'm joining from California, so we have a morning over here. But if you are joining from other places, please accept my greetings. I'm a data science leader at PayPal, and here's my journey. Since we are talking about all this data pieces, so I have this timeline visual. And I started my career in 2005, moved to Seattle, uh, and then joined Microsoft in 2010. And then I was in Microsoft for a long time, around 10 years before and recently I joined PayPal. It's now 5 years now. And of late, I'm very passionate about this new project about data literacy in kids. And I'm sure like a lot of people out here are interested to get their kids in data. We'll talk about that. But here's the funny video I wanted to share. If you've seen this, feel free to say something in the chat. Not just enjoy it. So you might not be hearing the audio, I don't know. But here you see like it's the BBC news, and then the kids are walking in, like one kid after another. And as we started working from home, we have seen this thing a lot, right? And this is like a mom coming in and then coming in as a savior, taking the kids away and what. That was a funny incident that we had, like a funny video. But again, that became our reality. And when our kids come to our office, backdrop, initially like we were hesitant, but then they became a regular in meetings. And now with that, instead of shooing them away, bring them in and explain what I'm doing in my job. So going to the allows. Okay. Okay. So I showed you the timeline visual of my career, but then there is another timeline which I will show you here. So apart from our day job, we are parents, we are caregivers, whatnot. Right? So I'm father of three beautiful kids, and while my two younger kids, 4 now, like they are little younger, I started with my 10-year-old in to get her into data, and we did a bunch of things. And I wanted to teach data literacy to my kids. But then my wife, like, she's very mindful of the screen time, so she gave me some challenges. She brought another perspective, which is very valuable. So I said, "Hey, honey, I want to teach them data visualization," and she said, "Okay, do that." I said, okay, how do I do it? Free all this data thing. And then, like, we are also big in storytelling, so that's another component. So So that's where like drawing data with kids was born. And here I've shared my experiments. It includes different stories for each chapter and then some take-home exercises as well. But some of these experiments here, so using Scrabble scores, uh, your I think I'll go more in detail. But feel free to take a screenshot or scan, like there is a QR code if you want to check out the code. So that's that. But let's talk about data. So as I said, I am a data science leader at PayPal, and you've seen from my career timeline, almost 20 years in data now. But when I started my journey learning data science for the first time, I started with this data set for this beautiful flower called iris. Now, when I started my career journey, I was not too much into like what all this data, all this flowers. They were new, like the domain was new. I appreciated all this beauty, but it was new. So when I started, like it was difficult for me to use this as a data set. If you're not familiar, we use this data set of like the length of the petal and different parts of the flower to identify the different categories it belongs, right? So yeah, I cannot even pronounce these categories. So now learning a new chapter or a new thing was difficult for me. Now, how do I do that? So when I wanted to make it easier for my kids, I thought, okay, let's do something else. So I started teaching them about bar graphs, and here you see what I've done is I've counted the number of letters for their favorite chocolate, and then I ask them, okay, find an anomaly. Like you see anything which is shorter, anything which is greater. So chocolates. More. You add consonants, vowels, and count them. Now this is a state graph, right? So here you see like how you create a stacked bar graph, and then so this is a chapter from my book, Drawing Data with Kids, where my daughter like she created the snore graph. Like I have this sleep apnea, so I snore a lot. And she woke up early in the morning, and then she creates this pattern of me snoring. It goes up and then it goes down. It's going down. So it's fun, but you learn something. Sneeze graph, right? So that's another thing which I used for my kids to share different patterns. Board games. So this is another chapter from the book where my kids are playing this snakes and ladder. My son was very disappointed. He said, "I don't like this game because there are more snakes than ladders that I always lose." So what we did is we used the data from this board game and counted the number of snakes and ladders each person gets. Now, when I think of my day job, I do these things in my day job. This is customer segmentation, which I've been doing. And if you look at the x-axis, it's number of snakes that I'm seeing. The x-axis is the number of ladders. Here I'm saying, okay, you've got few snakes, few ladders, and then on the top right, you've got more snakes, ladders, and like that. So now we put the scores on different players. See, surprisingly, my son, he came out as a winner. He was in that top left room, which had less number of snakes and more number of ladders. Eventually, he came out as a winner. So you can make it very easy for the kids. It doesn't have to be too complicated. Uh, so, so that's it. Uh, then there is another game that we have to play, Scrabble. So here you see me playing the game of Scrabble. We, now we are noticing. Uh, so every round we are noticing the scores, what happened, and then you see like what happened in a particular round. And here again, my son came out as a winner because he got the die. So that's that. Nursery rhymes, wheels on the bus, right? So you count the number of uh, uh, and then you create the stacked bar graph, shapes and letters. Again, this is the number of sides of the y-axis, number of letters, and you see, okay, what fun stuff comes out, pictograms, and all of this is based on real world scenarios. When my daughter came in, the book from library, so I created this pictogram for her. Heat maps. So here you've got different states, and I wanted to teach them heat map, but again, how can I make it? I just said count the number of letters for each state, and here you've got the legend to which we will color the different states. And now you can see these red states which have got more than 10 number of letters. Physical visualization. So after we moved to California, my daughter was visiting the cherry blossom in Seattle. So I took a printout of our country and I put all these different cherry blossom flowers to show what are these places where cherry blossom is. And then the idea is not to teach them, but to make them fall in love with data. So this is another example. The other day, my daughter was sitting on the couch and she said, Abu, come. And she was looking into this particular book called Books of North America. And here she was looking into this graph, and here you've got x-axis, is the time in seconds, and the frequency. And basically, this graph is used to identify the species of the birds. And she said, she called me and then she said, Abu, this looks like a small graph from your book. So that was like a pat on my back that when my daughter encountered a graph, she was not afraid of it. She just was able to associate good memory that we had working on this book. So that's fun. And I've seen many grown ups every time you see a math formula or something challenging, they tend to move it faster to the next page. Uh, but if you associate good memory with these data thing, then I'm sure you would be happy to embrace. So what worked? Stories work. No standard curriculum. Charts with stories, exercises, and since we are doing this thing offline, it helps create parent-child bonding. So you are working with kids and doing these things from their daily life, so that helps. Yeah. So feel free to take the screenshot. The idea is not to teach them, but to make them fall in love with data visualization. And this is a sneak peek where you can learn more about we are covering. Upskilling is important, but it shouldn't be at the cost of screen time. So here you have the Venn diagram, making kids data literate, and this is, as you might have noticed, this is a very personal project. All of these stories are realistic fiction. We have seen this in my at home. And when I was doing this, the idea was like maybe not to like sell it, but to keep it as memories. But now this book is being translated in Arabic and in German and in more of the languages we'll be doing soon. And recently we won award for this book as well. So that's drawing data with kids. Again, what I want to you as parents and educators is don't bring all these traditional graphs and traditional data. Bring data from the daily lives of the kids. That will make it more interesting, and that's about it. So I think I'm out of time now, but thank you. My name is Gulrez Khan. I'm the data science leader at PayPal. Feel free to connect me on LinkedIn, and if you want a copy of the book, take the QR code. If you've got any questions, I don't know how we are doing on time, but feel free to post it in the chat. I'll try to answer as much as I can.